All right, I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta. This is Weather Impact Live, and today we're going to be talking about the tropics out there. We do still have the low chance of tropical development in the Gulf, stretching across the first coast and off of the east coast of Georgia and the Carolinas, but it's low. A 20% chance in the next 7 days, 0% in the next 48 hours. So that's the main theme of this update here, but just keep in mind and put it in perspective. I don't want to be accused of hyping this or anything like that, because one of the big things we do here at First Coast News is, of course, always going to let you know when a storm's going to hit. But at the same time, always going to let you know when we're not getting hit by a hurricane, if that makes sense here. But this is the latest from the National Hurricane Center. A 0% chance in the next 48 hours, 20% in the next 7 days. Now, some people are also calling this a cone. And I do want to point out, this is not a cone of air. That is different. That's when you actually have a storm system formed up and it's headed in a certain direction. What this is that somewhere within this area of yellow, the National Hurricane Center is saying in the next week, there is a 20% chance of development. Could that occur off of the West Coast? Could it occur off of the East Coast of Florida? It doesn't say that specifically in this particular graphic. I just want to point that out. Now, with that said, there is an area that this could be forming off of heading over the weekend. It's this big broad trough, and I'll get to that in just a second, that along that trough, there is going to be rain, there's going to be some thunderstorms, and there will be some local impacts here in the Jacksonville area. Not an organized tropical storm or anything like that, but some local impacts due to the instability associated with that tropical trough. I know it's semantics, and I know you wanted me to break down what exactly is the forecast here. We're watching that area, also watching another one way off the coast of Africa, the Cape Verde Islands. Nothing there. You might also notice, this is a little annoying in my humble opinion, there's no satellite picture here. Why? The GOES 19 is down for some reason, and we don't have any satellite data. So there's that. The National Weather Service, or NOAA, saying there was an anomaly here with the GOES-SAT. So we don't have a satellite out there in the Atlantic Ocean. So we kind of don't see what's happening right now. There's some backups, but at least for now, we don't have any data. So hopefully that gets restored soon. All right, let's talk about our area over the Florida Peninsula here. And really, I say over the Florida Peninsula. Right now, there's nothing really quite there. What we have is a stationary boundary towards our north. That's been bringing these thunderstorms across Mississippi, Alabama, into Georgia. What's going to happen is that front will weaken, but that tropical trough will remain in place as this high-pressure area drifts towards the west. So as it moves over the Gulf, it's going to get pick up this moisture, and there is that chance of maybe some cyclonic rotation, a big broad area of low pressure, if you will. At the very least, it's a broad area. It's not very tight, not very organized, but this will be stretched from the southwest towards the northeast. And as that gets stretched out, that's going to bring that widespread instability, thunderstorms, and maybe even some local rainfall across parts of the first coast. Now, this is the this is the GFS guidance right here, which has not been very aggressive on this storm system. The ECMWF that's even backed out. But what I am kind of noticing is our high-resolution graph model, our in-house model, see it right there, as we go ahead into Friday, kind of picks up on that troughing, trying to develop off of the coast of Florida. And actually, look at that. It tries to spin something up out there. That's kind of interesting. This is actually the first time I'm seeing this particular run with this model. Being a little aggressive. Now, the graph is often aggressive on tropical areas, but big thing I want you to see here is that there is that broad low that could be increasing showers for the west coast of Florida, stretching even over towards Jacksonville as well. So we have a weather impact alert in place because of that broad troughing. But this is kind of interesting. It's the first I've seen our high-resolution model. We don't have any initialization data, though. We don't have hurricane hunters flying out there. We don't have thunderstorms even at this time, no area of low pressure at this time. And you need that for models to get a little more confident. I suppose. So we're going to continue to watch that. That's kind of interesting, and that's why I like doing these live updates because we can always kind of show you what we're looking at here in real time with some of the latest model runs coming in. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's take a look at this is the ECMWF, and we get our high pressure ridge kind of pushing back towards the west. Get this broad troughing setting up here as we go out through Friday into Saturday. Kind of see it right there off of the Big Bend area. That is, this is very broad. This particular model doesn't really show much at all. I put the L in there, but it's not really there with this particular model. And this is also an indicator that multiple models are not all showing the same thing, which means confidence also very low on development. What this does indicate is an increase in afternoon showers across the west coast of Florida, and this is even going to cascade off towards the east as well, because there's just that energy in the atmosphere. This is the ECMWF vorticity. We call it atmospheric energy because no one understands what vorticity actually means. But those areas in the red indicating upward vertical motion. And this also showing kind of this low try to develop and drift off towards the north and east. But the energy's not consolidated. It's not in a circular area. So it gets stretched out. And this is also an indicator of not a organized tropical area, but more of this tropical troughing, which increases showers and thunderstorms and things like that. So that's why we're leading more into a rainmaker, beneficial rain, with some localized flooding potentially due to heavy thunderstorms, instead of saying a full-on big bad storm is going to be developing out here. It's kind of interesting breaking down the different types of models out here with you. What we do know, sea surface temperatures are very warm out here right now. We are into the high 80s, near 90 degrees in spots. Definitely conducive for a tropical cyclone development. Wind shear is there for now. But look at this as we go through Sunday and the Monday. It actually backs off a little bit. And as we all know, we need low vertical wind shear. We need warm sea surface temperatures. And you need abundance of moisture for a tropical system to truly kind of develop up here. And this is just kind of what we're talking about. Those sea surface temperatures, not just warm, but over 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And the warmer they are, the more energy available. You need those converging winds at the surface, a.k.a. a low pressure area, as well as abundant moisture, a.k.a. cloud cover, and thunderstorms and things like that. And that low vertical wind shear. Think of wind shear as well. Like if you have a candle or you have a cake, let's say you have a birthday cake with candles on it. I'll get my words right. And you go to blow it out. And you blow it out. All right. But if you blow on it a little bit, the candles kind of waver a little bit to the side. And you blow really hard, the candles, of course, go out. That's kind of wind shear on a tropical system in a nutshell. No wind on it. The candle and the flame is going straight up. It's going to burn bright. Start to blow on it, it tilts a little bit to the side. A lot of wind, then it blows it out. So that's something we're watching out for, because as this drifts towards the northeast, it is going to encounter some more wind shear. So that could be kind of changing the dynamics on this too. I know there's a lot of ifs and a lot of coulds in this forecast. I hate saying those words because I know as a meteorologist, our job is to make sure, hey, we want to give you the most accurate forecast possible, right? And number one thing right now is that there's still some uncertainty with this. Guidance is all over the place. We have this broad area of troughing. What I am confident on is that northern Florida is going to see some decent thunderstorms on Sunday and Monday. Widespread, like a rain shield, unlikely, but some local, and exactly where those storms will set up is not for certain either. I can't tell you if Clay County is going to get 3 inches of rain. You know, I can't. We're not. I think tomorrow and Saturday we will definitely nail down those specifics, but just a broad area of on and off thunderstorms more than likely. But at least for now, it's a low chance of tropical development, a 20% from the National Hurricane Center, somewhere along that big broad area out here that we're continuing to monitor. And you know, as we always say when we're taking a look at that long range tropical outlook, I like using this graphic because it really kind of demonstrates how a weather model works with that initialization. Slightly different variations. If you're playing Plinko here and you move your hand only a little bit to the left, or you shake your hand a little bit or something like that, the disc might go in a completely different direction. And that's why different guidance is showing different things. It's not until we actually get a good, solid, concrete low trying to form out there that we're like, okay, this is where the disk is going to be starting out and this is where it's going to go. So there is that uncertainty to be had at this time. But yeah, there's one where look at those ingredients that we do need, at least for this to start to develop up. It's not just the sea surface temperatures, by the way. It is also the depth of the water, which is rather deep. Not just the depth of the water, but the depth of the warm water, I should say. And that's why we call this the deep warm water, more tropical energy kind of graphic here, which is showing the parts of the Gulf. We got some warm eddies out there that could be conducive for some development. There is one thing hindering our tropical development right now, and especially that other area further towards the east off of the coast of Africa. It is the Saharan dust. That area, actually, the one that has a very low chance near the Cape Verde Islands, just drier is going to eat away at it. Closer to home, well, you know what? We're kind of in a little bit of a break here from the Saharan dust. In fact, if we get some northerly wind set up, we might see more smoke coming out of Canada that could hinder tropical cyclone development versus Saharan dust coming off of the coast of Africa. So many factors here. So many different factors, so many different things in play that could impact this area. For now, though, we are in mid-July, and by the end of July, tropical season usually starts to tick up pretty quickly, and then absolutely heading through August and September, we peak on September 10th for hurricane season. So we're not there yet. We don't have any named storm systems out there yet, outside of Arthur earlier on, like right now. But definitely going to be looking at that chance of some scattered showers, maybe some afternoon thunderstorms here every single day, but really picking up Sunday and the Monday, which is why, once again, we have a weather impact alert for both of those days. Here's a look at your 7-day outlook. Thursday, got afternoon storms here. Does dial back a little bit on Friday, but then it picks back up Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday, where you have those areas in the red because of this big tropical trough overhead. If you notice, I keep calling it a tropical trough. I'm not calling it a tropical low. I'm not calling it a tropical system. It's this big, broad area of instability with those thunderstorms that could be erupting along it. So numerous showers could be developing within it. Some localized flooding, mainly because of trading, could be one of the big issues. If you get one storm after another over the same location, I would say don't cancel plans at this time, but maybe have some backup plans ready to go, especially indoors. If you're, for example, in the backyard and you're going to be doing a little barbecuing or something like that, maybe don't cancel it, but if you see those storm clouds rolling in, hear that thunder, maybe just step inside. And that's one of the big things. We want to make sure everybody's staying safe. Somebody was hit by lightning just like last week in Fort Caroline here in Jacksonville. And then the week prior, multiple people hit by lightning around the Tampa area. I say that not to spook you, just a reminder. And I know a lot of people are in Jacksonville on the First Coast, and Florida in general. Like, it's summer, it's Florida, we get lightning. Yeah, I hear you. Lived here for many years. I always just kind of, because the lightning doesn't care if you were born here, or if you lived here for 30 years or 1 week. If you're outside, you're putting yourself in danger. Just keep that in mind and make sure you remember it. But right now, we're still going to be tracking this tropical area, tropical trough, 20% chance of development. That's as of 8 a.m. this morning, and still going to be a potential here as we go ahead through the upcoming weekend. So, of course, there's lots of science behind this. The talk about the hurricane hunters are not out there flying into it right now, but they could be if it does start to show a little more promise, as well as some of the names and different type of things that you could do to prep up for tropical season. So I'm going to leave you with some video here. Just discussing a little science behind this, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit as we continue to monitor the tropics out here in the Atlantic. I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta. For now, though, let's toss to a quick commercial break, pay the bills, and we'll be right back.
We have new details about a heavy police presence in Jacksonville Beach.
Driver fired gunshots along the interstate today, prompting a police chase.
Breaking overnight, police are investigating an officer-involved shooting.
Breaking news, a major crash on I-95.
Rude routine-controlled burn got out of control. First Coast News was the only station there.
Stream extended coverage on First Coast News Plus. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with First Coast News and First Coast News Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage with First Coast News and First Coast News Plus. The First Coast News Plus TV app. Streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
Had the umbrella in the back seat, the rain jacket ready to go.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news, live from the scene.
Let's get some breaking news we've been following overnight.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. First Coast News Plus. Complete coverage of your local news, weather, and more.
The First Coast News weather team has your most accurate forecast with weather impact alerts to warn you about severe weather. Our team is here to help you prepare and keep you safe.
The First Coast News weather team is always on your side. Stream extended coverage on First Coast News Plus.
Hurricane hunters provide a lot of information about a storm, but how are they getting inside? They're flying a plane called a WC-130J, like this one. It's a modified version of the C-130 plane that you might see dropping that red stuff on a fire out west. These planes are tough. They can fly for longer periods of time, and they can really take a beating. These airborne science missions are run by the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron, which has been flying into storms since 1944. In the cargo section of the plane, there are two different pallets of computer systems that take all of the data from the sensors on the plane's exterior to help determine what's going on inside the storm. The hunters also drop these parachute-type sensors called SONs, which float through the storm, relaying info about the storm's pressure, wind direction, and wind speed. That information all comes together, gets processed, and then is shared through the National Hurricane Center for us to share with all of you. I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta, First Coast News, on your side. The hurricane hunters are a vital tool when it comes to tropical weather forecasting. They fly into the heart of hurricanes, so we can get that initialization data to ingest into weather models and help make that forecast that much more accurate. But who is flying these planes into the middle of the hurricanes? Well, I had the opportunity to talk to one of the hurricane hunters, that is Colonel Ryan Rickard, about why they do what they do.
So, I mean, we all know that it started very, very early in the middle of World War II. There's no replacement for it, really. There's nothing that can provide the data that the aircraft can provide. There's no observations over the ocean that, you know, with aircraft flying through it, the aircraft is equipped with weather information and sensors that is collecting that, and then we're disseminating it. So it's truly vital for the Hurricane Center and for the meteorologists and the forecasters in the West Coast as we've expanded our winter season mission too, where we're collecting atmospheric data over data sparse areas.
All right, so let's say you're going to go fly into a hurricane. Could you take me through a day in the life of a Air Force hurricane hunter that is going to be going out and going into a storm?
So really it starts the day prior. The day prior, the Hurricane Center asks the aircraft units what if they can support whatever they're asking, requirements for flights for whatever storms are out there that we can reach from whatever base we're at. And then that basically sets the stage for the crews getting built, people volunteering for set a flight at whatever time. And then they go into a crew rest. They have to have a 12-hour period prior to their flight where they're resting and being ready and basically getting the sleep that they need in order to conduct that mission the next day. And then basically roughly 3 hours prior, you'll get alerted to come in to the unit and go prepare and go out on that flight. And in about 2 hours, everyone arrives 2 hours prior to the flight. And then you start collecting information. You start providing the crew what we're going to do, where we're going, etc. And then about that takeoff time, that's when everybody's on the aircraft, you're taking off and you're heading towards the location where you're going to hunt that storm or basically collect all the data for that storm. And the missions can run anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. It just depends on how far it is to get to that. And then basically what the Hurricane Center has asked us to do. If there's certain different things, objectives they have us basically finding out.
The planes that the hurricane hunters use are unique. They have a lot of special equipment on board, but what's interesting is that they are not much different from normal military aircraft.
Yeah, so the misconception is that C-130, the C-130s that we have 10 of them, are built differently and like reinforced or, armored or do whatever. That they're not. They're actually not. They don't have extra steel plates or, anything extra on that aircraft to make it more safe. They do have weather instrumentation on it, which that's where the WC-130 comes from. That W means weather, so it's weather configured. We have instrumentation. We have the crew on board to collect that information and provide it to our customers. The one thing I will say that it does, it has the nose radar on there, just like other C-130s, but we have a software that enhances it, that allows us to determine, I would say, it allows us to determine whether or not there are tornadic signatures. It helps with the reflectivity of it and gives us more fidelity of what's actually happening in front of the aircraft.
So who is flying into these hurricanes? It's a lot more than just the one pilot.
Yeah, so we have two pilots, the aircraft commander and then a co-pilot. They're obviously flying the aircraft. We also have navigators on our airplanes. There used to be a lot of navigators across the Air Force and C-130s and other aircraft. They've really basically cut back on that, but the navigator provides a crucial role in ours where they're looking at that radar to help assist us and tell us what might or might not be good things to fly through, et cetera. And then we have the flight meteorologist and then the load master, the drop zone operator in the back. They're the ones that are collecting all the data. The meteorologist is telling the load master where to drop those signs because they're not technically weather experts or have weather backgrounds. They're basically just following orders on what we want to do. And then we are basically, the meteorologists are conducting the entire mission and meeting the objectives of the customers, telling them where we need to go next or what we need to do next, and then we're ensuring that weather information that's getting sent off the airplane is, as accurate as it possibly can be.
Now, I guess my next question is about in-flight. So how many, if you know this number offhand, I bet you do, how many storms have you penetrated? And what is the one that you were like, oh, okay, all right, hold on. And maybe like you lost a little kind of color in your face or anything like that.
I actually do not know the exact number, but I know relatively. I've been through hurricanes roughly 150 to 175 times, somewhere in that range. Last year I went through, I think, 31 times a hurricane penetration. So I'm getting up there. I've been there for 10 years, so I have quite a decent amount of experience in doing it. And then I would say there's been a handful of wow or oh my, moments, but the one that I've been kind of harping on while I've been here is the Hurricane Irma experience. Kind of flew it 3 or 4 times in its beginning stages, all the way up to a Cat 5. And when it deepened and it hit its peak intensity, that was one of the ones that I was just like, oh my gosh. It was really rough and it was near land, so we got rocked pretty good.
So what advice from a hurricane hunter would you have for the general public?
A lot of the times the general public doesn't really understand, what impacts they're going to experience at their house or in their area that they live. So, the best way to understand that is to listen to their local emergency managers and the communicators and the leaders of their community to tell them, hey, if they're telling you to leave, you really need to leave. It's a freebie. Leave. Why would you stay? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense to me to ride a storm out when you really don't know what's going to happen.
So I want to say a big thank you to Colonel Rickard for talking with me about how the hurricane hunters operate. If you want more information, be sure to stop by firstcoastnews.com/Hurricane Central. I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta.
Every hurricane season, we have a list of names that tropical cyclones that season will be named. But how are those names decided? They're picked by the World Meteorological Organization, and that organization needs to follow some guidelines. The name has to be short in character length for ease of communication. It also has to be easy to pronounce, and it has to have significance, and it has to be familiar to different languages that could be impacted by that storm. So across the basin, those names have to be referenced to the languages spoken in that basin. So in the Atlantic, it's English, French, and Spanish. Also, it has to be unique. So, for example, a name already used in the Pacific Basin cannot be used in the Atlantic Basin. Then they put those names in alphabetical order. You'll notice that there are no Q, U, X, Y, or Z names. Those names are less common and a bit harder to understand across the languages. They will also rotate male and female names. So if the A name is a male name, the B name would be a female name. And those names are recycled every 6 years. So for example, the 2024 names will be used again in 2030, with an exception. You can retire names. Hurricane names are retired if they're particularly devastating or catastrophic. And so the 2024 names that were retired were Beryl, Helene, and Milton. So in 2030, those names will be replaced with Brianna, with Holly, and with Miguel. Those names were selected by the World Meteorological Organization. I'm meteorologist Lee Southwick. First Coast News on your side.
Tropical wave is a term you hear frequently before a storm forms. A tropical wave is an unorganized area of storms traveling west out of Africa. These are important to follow because around 85% of major hurricanes begin as tropical waves. Another common term you hear is invest. Invest stands for investigative area. When a tropical wave becomes more organized, the National Hurricane Center will designate the area of disturbed weather as an invest. Each invest is given a number from 90 to 99. For example, Invest 90L. The L tells us the system is in the Atlantic. This also allows the NHC to run ensemble models or spaghetti models on these systems. You might also hear the term cyclone during hurricane season. A cyclone is a blanket term for any area of low pressure that has a closed circulation. Hurricanes, tropical storms, and tropical depressions are all cyclones because they are closed areas of low pressure. Meteorologist Lee Southwick, First Coast News on your side.
Here in Jacksonville and on the First Coast, we get tropical systems. I mean, I'm here at Riverside and we have seen flooding right here at this spot. That's why these barriers are here. So it's never too early to prepare for the hurricane season. I talked to Florida Power and Light about, some preparations you can be doing today.
Whether you are a longtime resident or new to the Sunshine State, now is really the time to start thinking about your emergency plans. For example, if you or a loved one relies on medical equipment that requires electricity, what's your backup plan should you lose power? If you're instructed to evacuate your home, well, where will you go? Chances are, last year, since we didn't have a falling hurricane, this may have been a while for you since you started up that generator. Now is a good time to do a test run, make sure it's operating safely and functioning correctly.
And they mentioned if the power does go out in your neighborhood, what you can expect during the storm.
So here at FPL, we have a tried and true restoration process that's all guided through the principle of restoring the largest amount of customers in the shortest amount of time. We prioritize our critical infrastructure facilities. Those are your hospitals, your 911 centers. And at the same time, we're bringing on thousands of customers. We then focus on our main thoroughfares. These are areas that support your gas stations, your supermarkets, to help the communities get back up and running. And now is the time again to really start thinking about your emergency plans, whether you are new to the Sunshine State or if you're a longtime resident of Florida. Now is really the time to start thinking about your emergency plans because, again, no grid is 100% stormproof.
So make sure you're not waiting until it's too late to get ready for the next storm. In Jacksonville, I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta, First Coast News on your side.
The dirty side of a storm refers to the area of a hurricane or tropical system where you'll find the highest winds, highest storm surge, and the greatest tornado threat. So what side of the storm is that? Well, generally, it's the northeast side of the storm, or more simply put, the right side of the storm. But it also depends on which direction the storm is moving. If it's traveling in a northern direction, the dirty side will be more on the direct right-hand or eastern side. If the storm is traveling in a more western direction, the dirty side will be more on top of it. So what makes it so dirty? It's all about the wind direction and a little math. For example, if a storm is moving north at 30 miles per hour and has wind speeds of 100 miles per hour, then the storm will produce winds of 130 miles per hour on the right dirty side. While on the left side, winds move in the opposite direction of the storm's movement, so they'll be slower at about 70 miles an hour. It's important to remember, though, as the storm grows stronger, every side becomes dangerous. Meteorologist Lee Southwick, First Coast News on your side.
Colorado State University, also known as CSU, has just put out their updated tropical season predictions here for 2026. And no surprise, they still are expecting a below average season. In fact, they're dropping their numbers down from back in April, where they were expecting 13 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes, to now 9, 4, and only 1 major hurricane. Both instances below average in the forecast. And no surprise there, we still have a very strong El Nino in place, and that typically reduces the number of named storm systems in the Atlantic, mainly because of an increase in vertical wind shear, which reduces tropical cyclone formation. But if you notice as well, they still say there's that potential for 1 major hurricane. And that means at least one place could be looking at a category 3 or higher based on that long-term forecast. And as we always say, I know it sounds very cliche, it only takes 1. But still expecting a below average hurricane season here in 2026. I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta.